July 11, 2025, in the pitch-black night off the coast of Oman, the silence shattered. 17 Iranian-made suicide drones, skimming just meters above the water, sliced through radar-blind spots with deadly precision. Their target Atlas 47, a massive U.S. offshore drilling platform and the lifeline of the U.S. military in the region. In under 4 minutes, the attack unfolded like a precision kill sequence. Fire tore through the rig, one explosion ruptured the pressurized jet fuel tank, another obliterated the data relay center. Secondary blasts followed, gutting the platform's core systems. 8 engineers were dead. Critical infrastructure was reduced to molten wreckage, but Iran had made a fatal miscalculation. It thought Atlas 47 was an easy target. It wasn't, and now it would pay. Moments later, half a world away, bomb bay doors opened over the Nevada desert. TB2 Spirit stealth bombers armed with GBU-57 bunker buster bombs roared into the night. For F-35C stealth fighters armed to the teeth. 20 MQ-5 Stingray drones primed for radar jamming. Tomahawk missiles screamed from U.S. warships already maneuvering into strike positions. This wasn't a warning, this was outrage given form. 3:47 a.m., the Arabian Sea, the water was calm, waves lapping gently at the base of Atlas 47, towering above the horizon, 112 nautical miles off the UAE coast. It seemed like just another offshore rig. But beneath the noise of its drilling arms and blinking safety lights hid the truth. Atlas 47 was a Tier 1 strategic asset. Inside its labyrinth of steel, 130 for engineers, a mix of civilian and military specialists rotating in grueling 12-hour shifts, protecting them 48 heavily armed U.S. Marines. Officially, it was a Tier 3 energy transition platform. In reality, it was the beating heart of America's naval power in the Middle East. It fueled F-35s, B-2 bombers, and powered the radar networks for stealth UAV patrols across the Arabian corridor. More than that, it acted as the central nerve, really for a $9 to billion combat logistics network, linking 3 aircraft carriers, over 70 stealth aircraft, and 12 satellite-controlled drone corridors. The attack. At exactly 3:47, radar operators in the Atlas security control room caught a faint flash on the horizon. Then silence. Within 18 seconds, 17 Iranian-made UAVs crossed the dead zone at ultra-low altitude. 6 were shredded by the rig's phalanx, SIBs and 25mm autocannons. The rest slipped through. 1 drone slammed into Tank to G, a high-pressure fuel reserve holding 1.2 million gallons of JP-8 jet fuel. Another struck the auxiliary generator shaft, plunging critical systems into chaos. A third ripped open the outer shell of the control tower. Flames roared 12 meters high. The shockwave shattered bulletproof glass. 8 engineers were killed instantly, 17 more critically injured. Deck sirens screamed, black smoke rolled. Across the night sky, strategic fallout. This wasn't just about steel and fuel. Iran had struck a vein in America's warfighting nervous system. Every 11 minutes, Atlas 47 transmitted encrypted targeting data to airborne MQ-5 Stingrays, coordinating real-time strikes in Yemen, Syria, and the Red Sea. Now that flow was severed. 43 scheduled strike missions were aborted. Worse, 1 drone penetrated level for vault storage, where autonomous navigation chips for prototype hypersonic drones were housed. If recovered and reverse-engineered, the consequences would span continents. At 4:12 a.m., U.S. Cyber Command issued a red-level breach alert, the first since the Chinese F-35 data theft during Operation Iron Hammer in 2007. This wasn't just an attack on energy infrastructure. It was a generational national security breach. The response. While Iran celebrated the burning silhouette of Atlas 47, it had no idea what was already inbound. At 4:31 a.m., just 44 minutes after the first blast, the U.S. chain of command issued a strike order. This time, the question wasn't if America would respond, it was how far it was willing to go. What would you do if you were in command? 2 words. Iron Hammer, a directive to unleash every weapon in America's regional kill chain. No debate, no hesitation. At the heart of the operation stood Rear Admiral Christopher W. Grady, commander of Carrier Strike Group 9. His mission was explicit: disable Iran's UAV launch source. Eradicate all drone production capabilities within a 100-meter radius, recover, or destroy any compromised U.S. components. On paper, it was classified as a Tier 1 strategic disabling strike. In reality, it would become something far more devastating. The launch platform, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier ever constructed. Its decks thundered as for F-35C Lightning to stealth fighters roared skyward, each armed with a GM-158JSM cruise missiles and an ASQ-39 electronic warfare suites. Their task: penetrate Iranian airspace undetected, blind local radar, and clear the battle space. The follow-up blow would come from more than 2,000 miles away at Diego Garcia. In total radio silence, to B-2A Spirit stealth bombers lifted off, carrying for 5,300-pound GBU-57A B massive ordnance penetrators, weapons built to pulverize bunkers buried 200 feet underground. Their destination, the Sheikh Karimi UAV complex, Iran's most secretive and fortified drone facility. In support, 20 MQ-5 Stingray drones surged ahead in the first wave. Their mission: jam Iranian communications with encrypted interference, provide real-time thermal imaging to the U.S. battle network, serve as decoys, provoking Iran's air defenses to fire prematurely. Meanwhile, the USS Higgins and USS Thomas Hudner activated their vertical launch systems in seconds. 24 Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles arced into the night, streaking eastward at 550 miles per hour, pre-programmed to annihilate for radar stations and an underground data hub around Sheikh Karimi. Overhead, American KH-1 to reconnaissance satellites fine-tuned, targeting data. RC-135 rivet joints and E-to-D Hawkeyes locked onto Iranian radar frequencies, updating target coordinates every 6 seconds. Across the strike network, silence reigned. Iron Hammer wasn't a warning. It was a message written in speed, precision, and absolute quiet. And in less than an hour, that message would reach Yazd, Iran, signed in steel and fire. 5:39 a.m. Tehran time. Yazd was still asleep. The desert lay silent, no radar alerts, no sirens. But at 60,000 feet, the American strike force had already arrived. It began in silence. The 2B-2A Spirits, launched for hours earlier from Diego Garcia, had slipped into Iranian airspace invisible to radar. No system on Earth could track them in time. Each bomber carried to GBU-57A B bunker busters, engineered to obliterate the most hardened targets known to man. Below, the MQ-5 Stingrays from the Gerald R. Ford swarmed around Sheikh Karimi, a facility Iran denied even existed. Their ALK-248 jam smothered every active radar within 50 miles. They streamed live infrared footage to CENTCOM, fired decoy flares, and baited Iranian surface-to-air missile batteries into wasting ammunition. At 5:42, Iranian SAM sites opened fire, salvo after salvo, at ghosts in the sky. Dozens of missiles arced upward, detonating harmlessly. The real attack had yet to begin. Flying nap of the Earth through radar gaps, for F-35Cs entered the kill zone. One by one, they launched AGM-158JASSM missiles toward infrastructure targets, fuel depots, transponder towers, drone calibration pads. Seconds later, 5:44 a.m., the B to South released their payload. The bunker-busting bombs plunged from the stratosphere, guided with precision, accelerating beyond 750 miles per hour before smashing 180 feet into reinforced rock and concrete. The shockwave registered as a 3.8 magnitude earthquake across central Iran. Fire and debris erupted from the ground like a volcano. A chain reaction tore through the facility. fuel tanks, warheads, battery storage, all detonating in sequence. 9 massive secondary explosions followed. One blast hurled an 18-foot drone wing over 1,300 feet before it crashed, burning into the desert. U.S. satellites recorded the entire Sheikh Karimi complex disintegrating in under 12 minutes, and the strike still wasn't over. From 500 miles offshore, the USS Thomas Hudner unleashed its final salvo, 12 Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles, aimed squarely at the underground data vault of Iran's most secure UAV facility. The missiles tore through decoy shielding, drilling deep before detonating with surgical precision. Moments later, the coding center that orchestrated Iran's drone fleet was nothing but a crater of molten steel and concrete. As the dust was still settling, U.S. helicopters swept in low over the burning complex. Within just 16 minutes, special operations teams had seized 6 key buildings, captured 2 Iranian technicians alive, and recovered a damaged but intact tracking chip from a prototype drone. By 6:08 a.m., it was over. The base Sheikh Karimi, Iran's most advanced drone hub, was gone. In that single hour, the world's second-largest UAV arsenal had been decapitated, its brain cut out with pinpoint American precision. At exactly 6:08, the Lassie H-53 helicopters lifted off from the smoking ruins. The mission was complete. There was no need for follow-up strikes, no warnings, no threats. The results spoke for themselves. In just 42 minutes, the United States had executed a flawlessly coordinated assault. Stealth bombers, 5th-generation fighters, armed drones, cruise missiles, electronic warfare units, and special forces all converging on one target. The outcome was undeniable. The most fortified UAV base in Iran had been annihilated. Over $1 billion in military assets gone. 47 long-range drones destroyed. 12 encrypted AI navigation modules reduced to slag. The very core of Iran's autonomous weapons research erased. Yet beyond the tactical victory, the operation sent a deeper message. It was a redefinition of modern American deterrence. At the Pentagon, Rear Admiral Jack Monroe stood before a digital operations map where Sheikh Karimi once existed and spoke just 14 words. "We didn't strike back because of what they destroyed. We struck because of what they threatened." That, he said, is the difference between retaliation and doctrine. The global reaction was instant. NATO remained silent publicly, but privately aligned. Arab Gulf states voiced strong support, calling it a defensive reset. Russia and China issued cautious, non-committal statements, careful not to openly defend Iran. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, but took no formal action. Beneath the political theater, every nation understood the core truth. Touch the lifeline of American power, and you awaken the full spectrum of US military force without warning, without negotiation. Some questioned why the United States would go to such extremes over an offshore platform. But Atlas 47 was not just steel, scaffolding, and fuel tanks. It was a forward-deployed fuel and data transfer node feeding stealth bomber wings, F-35 strike groups, and drone warfare corridors across 2 continents. Every month, 1.7 million gallons of military-grade JP-8 fuel flowed through its tanks. Every day, over 6,000 targeting uplinks passed through its encrypted data channels to U.S. forces across the Middle East. Its secure communications vault linked directly to carrier strike groups in both the Atlantic and Pacific. Losing Atlas 47 would not have been a loss of energy, it would have been a breach in the command architecture of American warfighting itself. Iran learned that the hard way. To every rogue state, militia, or adversary watching, the United States delivered an unmistakable truth. We do not draw red lines, we enforce them. We do not threaten, we act. And when we act, there are no second chances. Operation Iron Hammer was more than retaliation, it was a blueprint, a doctrine. A reminder carved in fire and steel that logistics is not weakness, it is power. And wherever the American flag flies, it is never alone. History is defined by moments when diplomacy Stalls, warnings are ignored, and an invisible line is crossed. The attack on Atlas 47 was not just an act of aggression, it was a probe, a test of US resolve, a challenge to the systems that prevent war as much as they enable it. Iran believed it could strike at America's lifeline and simply walk away. What followed was not a response, it was a revelation. Operation Iron Hammer was not announced at a press conference, it did not unfold live on cable news. It came quietly, it came quickly, and it came with the concentrated weight of modern American warfare drones, bombers, stealth jets, satellite-guided strikes, and special operations units converging in a single, decisive moment. In less than an hour, the United States not only destroyed a facility, it etched a warning into the desert floor beneath Yazd. We see farther. We strike faster. We finish what others start. For those watching from bunkers, boardrooms, and war rooms alike, the lesson was clear. The American flag is not a soft target, it is a symbol of reach, resolve, and readiness. And to those who serve beneath it on ocean platforms, in remote desert outposts, and behind encrypted terminals, you are not alone, because in a world of shadows, America still answers with light. And when that light turns to fire, the world takes notice.